Welcome to the Stargate Finance Community Call, where we discuss proposals and ideas that will help shape and govern the Stargate protocol. Feel free to join the conversation anytime you have a question by clicking on the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. You can also chime in through the voice text channel in Discord or in any of the chats for those listening to YouTube and Twitch, as those channels all aggregate the messages together. Just a reminder, this is not financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please do your own research. All right, we've got a few things to go through here today. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Just a recap here on November as well. I know it was the end of the month when we had our last community call. But yeah, basically 256,000 transactions and over 771 million, setting really good numbers here for trending upwards for the protocol. So yeah, really happy to see all of that. Plus just seeing like a ton of traffic and activity. I think there was, last month we were the most used bridge, just by users, across DeFi. So it's really positive to see these metrics coming in and seeing a lot of things trending upward here for us. Next up, we've got the Stargate Quest campaign with Layer 3. That popped out in less than 5 hours. 5,000 people had come into that and was able to claim that. So hopefully everyone got a chance to get one of those. If not, there are more quests coming. So don't worry, there's more coming. And all of those are going to be minted as ONFTs, and that's on Polygon. So you'll be able to have them on Polygon, but there may be some options in the future here for moving them around across chains. So let's see what all comes with that. But we're also working with Layer 3 just to come up with some better ideas too for ways that we can try and make this more inclusive for the community and get more people involved. So stay tuned for that. That should be coming up soon. We'll keep you posted. Then the other one we've got is the Stargate Protocol owned liquidity dashboard, and that's thanks to Nansen. So if you go over into our Gitbooks, you'll be able to see there's a dashboard there for all the protocol owned liquidity. So it just gives you a really cool overview of everything that's going on inside of there. So you can see all the Stargate on the different networks. You can see some of the stuff that's going on here with the bribes and what's all been happening here with where the protocol and liquidity is being utilized. So feel free to hop down there and see everything, even like the pools and stuff that are, how much of the pools, for the SUSDC or the SUSDT on each network. You can even have a look at that sort of stuff too and see how much is actually in there that's the protocol that the protocol owns. Then one other one here, just as we recap from other proposals that have passed. SIP 20, that was the transparency on foundation rebalancing. So that's going to, obviously make the protocol healthier in general, just to help rebalance all the pathways and addresses the published. So the addresses will be published in the protocol owned liquidity transparency and Gitbook. So just as we were talking about here before with Nansen. So as there is going to be, as there will be some capital moved over to the Treasury for rebalancing, you'll see that, and that'll all be listed into the transparency page there through Nansen and through Gitbook. So this is a fixed term, and of course, the community can vote to change on this at any point. So keep an eye out for that. You might see some, you will see some liquidity moving here soon. So. Yeah, and then of course, VESTG fees are claimable from November. So as per SIP number 18 and the value accrual proposal, the community passed transaction fees for VESTG holders, and these fees are now available for November. Going forward, they will be available by the 10th day of the following month. And now as we move into current proposals here that were recently up on Snapshot and currently on Snapshot, we've got so the proposal to add Layer 0 tokens or OFTs to Stargate. That passed on Snapshot. And so they would be things like BTCB and AGEUR. Those are OFTs and whatnot. So overall, that's just the more things that we can do to try and simplify people's lives as far as like a place to go to like be thinking about moving assets, like you're coming to Stargate. So, as more OFTs, do roll out, if, protocols decide to use those, now they're coming to Stargate to make that happen. And so with this, still being able to take like a 2 basis points convenience fee, which is very minimal, but, with people coming here in high traffic, that can turn into some interesting stuff.
Yeah, an OFT is an omni-chain fungible token that can move between any layer 0 supported chain seamlessly. So move on to any chain Stargate's on. And it enables Stargate to add a wider range of assets without the need for liquidity pools or emissions, and really helps users understand, and as Tango said, learn that Stargate's the place to go to move any asset that you want to move. So examples like BTC-B and Angle are current OFTs that are really exciting and are freely moving around DeFi currently.
Yeah. So overall, I think that's going to be a really positive one, and just starting to get people to think about coming to Stargate more and more and more. And you never know where we're going to find more and more people, and they love the product, and end up coming here and stay here and start utilizing Stargate. For all of their bridging needs. So, all right, we're just going to look here if we've got.
Proposal is that the Metis DAOs come forward and request that Stargate deploy on Metis. This is up for active voting currently within Snapshot. So please take a look at the proposal and go vote. The Metis DAO has come forward and offered a number of incentives for Stargate to be there, to add USDT pools across Metis itself, Ethereum, Avalanche, and BSC, as well as an autonomous pool deployment for the Metis token itself across Ethereum, Metis, and BSC. So what they're offering is to incentivize pools, so all the liquidity that would be added is incentivized, by their grant, as well as incentivizing transfer volume to make moving to Metis free with a rebate of the Stargate fees. So we're hoping, assuming the community decides that this is the path we want to move forwards on, and it's my thought that more pools and more transfer volume is good for Stargate. It adds more volume, it adds more fees, and it gives users more paths to actually go with, and brings a new community of users and builders into Stargate itself. And we actually have Matt from Metis DAO in the audience as well to come talk about why they decided to come up with this proposal and bring it forward to us as the community.
Matt, we got you.
Can you hear me?
We got you. Go on. Hello, how are you?
Wonderful, man. Very happy to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with the community. It's really amazing to see this DAO in action. It's a hugely active community. If I'm not mistaken, Stargate has the most members out of anyone on Snapshot. The votes have been live for 24 hours, but there's already been over 45,000 votes, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, very happy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, no, but thanks for coming on today here. But yeah, if you could just, if you want to just share a bit about, Metis DAO or Metis or however. So I always heard
number one. How should people pronounce it?
I mean, the most official way is Metis. It's the Greek goddess of wisdom, good counsel, and prudence. But more often than not, I just say Metis.
All right.
So it'd be great.
So whatever tickles your fancy.
Yeah.
Would love to give a bit of background on Metis. So the idea and concept for Metis is really born out of the need for permissionless and open collaboration. So the foundation is kind of approaching this in 3 ways. So the ultimate goal is to build a hub for the entire Web3 economy. The Ethereum layer 2 is just step 1. So we needed a very scalable layer. So that's kind of where the layer 2 came into play. And then obviously Ethereum being kind of the most decentralized and secure. And then, providing a top-notch scalability. On top of that, though, we're incubating and building out Matrix reputation power system. So this is going to bring built-in like on-chain reputation. which is going to enable really cool things like reputation power-based voting and tapping into things like under collateralized lending or proving provenance of NFTs without a centralized actor. And then on top of that is going to sit this DAC framework, so decentralized autonomous company. This was a concept that Vitalik talked about in 2013. And essentially, we want to create a framework that facilitates the transition of Web 2 to Web 3, so enabling both blockchain and Web 2 companies to build decentralized businesses on chain and just bring all of the functionalities of real world enterprises on chain with the security and decentralization of Ethereum. So that's kind of the quote unquote meta stack in a nutshell.
And I think it's really humbling that you've identified that you need a reliable, secure, and robust bridge to help bring value outside of the official bridge, and have approached our community to be that partner.
Yeah, absolutely. We are very, very aligned with the vision of Stargate and Layer Zero and the technology. We believe it's industry leading, and are very happy to be approaching the community and asking for support here.
And I think the response has been overwhelmingly positive from what we've seen in the voting. And as it wraps up here, we'll see sort of how that falls. Inside your proposal, you mentioned something about a builder program that you're running.
Yes.
As well. It would be wonderful if you talk about that a little bit, because I know that we have a bunch of people that are builders in the audience, and we'd love for existing Metis builders and new builders to build on Metis on top of Stargate, integrating sort of our composable liquidity transfer layer into whatever their stacks are.
100%. Yeah, I'd love to touch on that. So this is something we're pretty proud of. It's a pretty unique sort of proposition. Essentially, the way it works is every month we look at the transaction activity on chain, and all of our builders are able to apply. So essentially, if you build anything, you can send in your contracts. There's a simple verification step. And then the easiest way to think of it is every month, based on the amount of transactions you contribute, you actually get kickbacks. So there is, it's up to 4,000 Metis that gets distributed monthly back to the builders that kind of provide the most value to the network. So it's kind of like retroactive funding, but we also see it as like a sustainability grant. So as opposed to, asking for kind of a one-time grant up front, this is actually a program where if you align yourself well within the ecosystem, you could be essentially getting this funding for, this is scheduled for, I guess, the next 8 or 9 years at this point.
Wow.
So it's a really cool program. We're here for the long run. We want to attract the builders that are as well, and we want to, create the structures and systems to support that.
And I know a number of your builders are currently looking at building on top of Stargate as well, and we're super excited to see what they bring out as part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've been asking for a while, so we're very happy to be a lot closer along in the process.
Awesome.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Alrighty. Yeah, I don't know anything further there. I'm just looking at the snapshot right now. It's currently at 3.3 million VESTG. Has been voting in favor of this. So that has reached quorum at this time. So yeah, basically this is still available for another day and a half, I guess, or almost 2 days rather. But yeah, right now it's looking very positive for Metis. So cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks very much for letting me hop on and give a quick chat. In terms of, I can quickly touch on like some of the benefits to the community. Like obviously we plan on maximizing the impact of this. So we'd love to kick it off with the grant, as Max mentioned. So the staking rewards would be across those 4 proposed chains.
Right.
So all of the community would be open to that as well. And then he also mentioned the bridging rebates. So we really want to remove the cost associated with trying out the network and allowing just a risk-free route to peruse through our DApp landscape. Right now we're running our Metis Marathon, which is a builder and community sort of mining program. So there's a lot of exciting stuff to try out on the network. And we really feel that there'd be a lot of direct impact and benefit back to these Stargate holders through, the liquidity provision, and then the increased revenue for the DAO through the new incremental bridging. So all in all, it sounds pretty exciting, and very happy with the support thus far.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, really like that the incentive or the rebate kind of program. I think that's a fantastic way of doing it too. So saying that way, as you put it, like risk-free to explore the ecosystem. So this way it really it's able to attract people to just give it a try, and I'm sure they'll love it once they're over there. So very cool.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for
coming.
All the best.
All right. And then so everybody it's looking very promising here with the snapshot proposal, and
and I think it's really cool seeing other DAOs come and engage with us and bring forward their own proposals, and bring forward stuff for the community to say, we see the value in Stargate, we see the value in us as the community, and we want you to engage with us, and hopefully we'll see, a good number more of these moving forward.
Yeah, would love to see more DAOs coming in and coming forward, other networks and things like this. But fantastic stuff. All right, we've got another proposal that just went up last night here too, and it's around the Stargate. So SIP 24 for Stargate Market Maker. So basically, this is designed for Stargate to provide 8 million STG for a 24-month period to a market maker that would be able to supply this for centralized exchanges. This way here, we're able to ensure that there's like proper liquidity, and trying to align with like a market maker here that will allow for better systems here and what. So
yeah, this is a proposal that's up on Commonwealth from the Stargate Foundation that's currently up for community feedback. It's not posted on Snapshot yet. It's still in the ideation and feedback phase. The Stargate Foundation in a post-FTX world feels like, off-chain centralized exchange liquidity is also important for a smooth and functioning market, and is proposing a loan of 8 million STG from the Stargate protocol to the foundation, where the foundation will select a market maker to act on behalf of the foundation for a 24-month period. At the end of those 24 months, the market maker will return the STG to the foundation, will return it to the protocol, or will return the cash equivalent of at least 80 cents per STG back to the foundation, and that will then go into POL for the protocol. I think it's probably worth noting some selection criteria that the foundation will use. Obviously, I think the concern would be in a post-centralized exchange world, what happens if a centralized exchange has something happen to it and funds are trapped there. I think that in that case, the foundation would work to select a market maker who has a long-standing reputation, who's experienced situations like this before and has returned funds. There are a number of market makers that I'm aware of that have returned funds back to people they were market making for if they had funds trapped on FTX or if they've lost funds in the past. And I think it's working with somebody reputable is the most important thing there. So I think it's being strategic and selecting a partner that sort of aligns with the ethos of Stargate itself.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you mentioned those things there, Max, just because, there's obviously a lot of concerns around centralized exchanges, especially post FTX things. But yeah, having a market maker that's willing to take on that risk and saying, hey, yeah, they believe in the centralized exchanges being able to continue to be something that they or I guess just willing to take that risk on. So then this way, at least it's the foundation and the protocol does have that backstop as well, and you've got legally bound to be able to return those assets. So there's no it's not as risky for the protocol.
I'm a huge proponent of decentralization. I think it's empowering in the future. I still personally acknowledge that centralized exchanges currently still play an important role in onboarding people into crypto and exposing them to various projects. So I think there has to be a balance between all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, still is, people are going to those for the first point of contact a lot of times, and to being able to have people have Stargate as a first point of contact when they enter in, I think that is a great way to have people, great way for people to have access to our ecosystem and to learn about Stargate and, then come and use the protocol as well. So, yeah. I don't know if anybody, I see a few hands up here. There've been a few up for a while. I'll bring, I'll bring up a couple of you here. Let's find out if you've got questions or if it was just a mistake. I know sometimes people just bump that by accident, but, let's see here. Requested a few people. If not, if you do have any questions, please, we've been kind of monitoring the AMA text or the text questions here, but don't grade me. Yeah. Mammals. We do make notes afterwards. So you'll be able to see the notes for that. That gets posted on Twitter. I think the Stargate intern is usually pretty good at that. So
and there's a recording of the call posted as well for 3 months post call as well.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you from Montel?
I'm fine. I have a question. I want to know if at some point it's going to be able to use BTCB on MetaMask or always going to be with Core Wallet.
Right now, once you move it off, so you use the BTCB from Core to get into the EVM ecosystem, right? So now you're on Avalanche, and once you're on Avalanche, I mean that's usable through your MetaMask wallet. I mean, I've done it. I've used MetaMask with BTCB and moved it around with a hardware wallet. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So just to be clear, getting it from Bitcoin to Avalanche, so that step of creation and redemption or creation and destruction, that happens in Core. But once it's there in Avalanche, then you can take it and you can move it to any other chain. And you can do that directly through MetaMask. And you can do that on bitcoinbridge.network is one site where you can do that, but you can be able to do it anywhere.
Yeah, but how I add the asset on MetaMask? Where is the contract address for that?
Yeah, we can. We'll post it. We'll post it in Discord. I'll have Tangle post it.
Yeah, we'll get on that here for you. I thought we did have that somewhere, but anyways, we'll make sure that's. I know we have a BTCB tutorial somewhere, or there is one with that. So just if you don't mind, just shoot me a DM here, Fairmontiel, and I'll follow up with you on all that. But absolutely, all that is very possible. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Anyone else? If you've got further questions, comments, concerns, Primo, how are you doing? I know you're a little under the weather, but anything further to add here today?
Very, very sick this morning, unfortunately. But no, in general, I think going through the recap of what's happened, there's a bunch of things that are kind of undercurrents that are pretty awesome. I think the first thing is more chains, right? Stargate has been on the original 7 for a while now, and it has always been this problem of, yes, we want to go to as many chains as possible. The protocol should try to go to as many chains as possible, but doing so introduces risk and capital that you need to basically, the protocol needs to pay emissions to seed these pools. We've always had this, anti-rented liquidity thing, where it needs to make a lot of sense in terms of the fees that are going to be generated, which is hard sometimes. And so I think the Metis proposal is really amazing intersection where they allow basically Stargate to get bootstrapped on their network, which brings a super valuable utility to the Metis network, which is something that they need, is great for the users on Metis. But at the same time, kind of allows Stargate to do this in a way that is this could be done at scale. Stargate could technically go to 20 different networks like this, and so I think it's an amazing proof of concept. I think super beneficial to both ecosystems, and hopefully will be the start of potentially more surface area for Stargate, which obviously is of net benefit to the underlying protocol. So that's one thing that I think is like super cool to see. The other are, the SIP around the self-balancing. So once the new fee libraries go live and everything happens there, like having the foundation itself be the one that is, assisting and balancing the pools is just incredibly, incredibly powerful, largely because there's all of this, not inefficiency, like the incentives are there. It's part of the underlying protocol, right? It's part of the Delta algorithm. It's like, how do you give incentives so that somebody will go out and balance this? But right now there's like, last I checked, maybe 150,000, that's between 100 and 200,000 usually, of outstanding rewards for somebody to balance this. And yet because of the 6 pip fee, nobody's doing this. And that's going, we're basically the protocol is paying external parties to go through and balance this. But now the foundation can do that balancing itself. And that means, on behalf of the protocol. And that means that immediately, once it does this, that 200,000 in rewards is going to get accrued and go back to the protocol. So now you have, not only will the pools be more balanced, so the protocol be more usable, which is going to push through to aggregators more often. It's going to be way more just like volume efficient and sort of how much volume Stargate can attract by having the best pricing. But on top of that, now this accruing, again, I don't know the exact number on average. I know it's 100 to 200,000 right now, but let's say, 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, whatever it is with reasonable volume, that's going to go back into the protocol and protocol owned liquidity. And that itself is awesome. So no, I think there's just like a lot of cool things happening that are a subtle change in Stargate, where yes, we had a bunch of the protocol had a bunch of profitable days a couple last month in November, and so that was the first hint of like there are like no protocols right now that have like net revenue greater than emissions. It's like GMX only, right? And so slowly Stargate is like inching closer and closer to being like a net accretive, right? And the moment that all emissions are gone or the protocol owned liquidity hits a certain threshold, then the protocol, has zero emissions and everything goes directly to the protocol. So just hugely exciting implications in terms of like what is actually happening there. I think all of this should be measured, like this will all be observable. We'll all be able to watch and see like when that inflection point happens. But I think, I don't know. I think it's just pretty awesome. Stargate's doing basically exactly what we always hoped it was doing, and just becoming this hub for liquidity everywhere. My only other thought is that the Nansen dashboard is amazing. Those guys are super awesome. The protocol and liquidity dashboard is sick. I think there's a couple more things maybe that are going to get added there. I think it's missing one or two small pools because the subgraphs on those chains are a little bit tricky or unreliable, but awesome to have. And I think any additional transparency into the community is great.
Yeah, and there's within that POL dashboard from Nansen itself, all the addresses are listed as well, and the rebalancing wallets will be separate and listed within there. And you can, of course, load them and explore them on any block explorer as well. It's just an aggregated way to see them. And I think Primo makes a really good point in and around POL that's worth stressing. I am what you would call a POL maxi. It is, I believe that as Stargate continues to put more and more POL together, it snowballs, and you can see a clear mandate to reduce emissions within Stargate as well. Emissions dropped in December from November and will hopefully continue to go down as they're based on real liquidity needed to incentivize current usage. The more POL there is, the less emissions need to be given out, right? For every dollar of POL, there needs to be $1 less of incentivized liquidity within Stargate. And Stargate hits a certain point where it has enough POL to function on its own. And then it's sort of the opportunities and the possibilities of what it can become and what the community decides it can become are limitless at that point. And that's what the vision for Stargate has always been. It's what's always attracted me towards Stargate, because I do believe, again, the bridge that wins is a bridge nobody knows they're using. And for there to be a consistent bridge that people are comfortable building on. There needs to be guaranteed finality, which Stargate checks off, and there needs to be reliable liquidity. So you know that if you're building on something, that liquidity is not going to go away tomorrow, and Stargate provides that as well. So I'm super excited for the future.
Absolutely. And just to kind of build off of that that last point there, and also something that Primo had mentioned, but like when you're thinking about the bridge that wins is like the one that you don't know that you're using, you know, we may end up seeing bridges being utilized through aggregation. And this goes back to Primo's point too, with like having these pools rebalanced and having the best possible pathway for people to come through. And then that becomes the router is selecting Stargate. So now not only are people not even thinking about what bridge they're using, but they're just because they're utilizing an aggregator, and being able to have that as like the top choice because it makes the most sense to be using Stargate that's fantastic, because now that's just more and more more and more fees that are coming through Stargate and more usage. And yeah, exactly. Just like we wanted to build this out.
We've looked at statistics from some of the current aggregation partners, and Stargate's picked a lot of the time for the route it's available for, but more efficient liquidity. Obviously, I think everyone would like Stargate to be picked 100% of the time for every single transaction in the world that uses a bridge to go through Stargate. And that's what I think as a community should work towards.
Absolutely. And I know DGK had asked about like the the new stable coins added. I guess with the extra emissions for DAI, Frax, LUSD, SUSD. Do we have any metrics on that or any ideas there?
Yeah, so there was a proposal that went up onto Snapshot that we talked about last community call around a data-driven emissions model. The protocol automatically adjusts emissions to target usage along those pools. So those emissions, those pools were not as heavily used as I think maybe anticipated. And in December, emissions were dramatically reduced on most of those pools to better incentivize the amount of actual liquidity. Prior to that proposal, Stargate had always targeted a target TVL for pools rather than an actual like transfer-based amount of liquidity needed. So post that proposal, Stargate is better able to internally adjust and attract the right kind of liquidity to support volume. So if those pools pick up and people start moving more volume from it, emissions will go up on those pools to compensate, but revenue and profit for the protocol itself will go up as well to offset that.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's probably a pretty great place to wrap up here. If anything further here from the audience, I don't see any further hands up. I hope we've answered the questions from the AMA text questions. But I think that's it. So of course this has been recorded. We'll be up on YouTube. It's being live streamed as well. So thank you to all who are over at YouTube right now listening in, or on Twitch. And of course, for those of you over on Twitter Spaces, thanks for popping in there as well. So yeah, you can check this out on the Stargate official YouTube channel afterwards. If you caught the end of it or you want to share it with a friend or recap, you're welcome to do that. And then of course, we'll try and get out some POAPs for people and make that all happen here as well. So we have enough for everybody that's here today. So hopefully we don't have people stealing more than one. And we'll keep you all posted. Just keep an eye on Twitter, keep an eye on Discord for announcements, and we'll catch up with you all in a couple of weeks. All right. Thanks, everybody. Ciao, ciao.